What would you do if your entire professional reputation was being systematically destroyed by lies? In today's story, the protagonist's choice is a masterclass in how to handle it, proving that sometimes the best defense is a truly devastating offense. I worked as a security guard for a few years at a factory. And in my last year, I made site supervisor, running the guard booth. We were contractors. And our job was simple: log everyone who comes in, watch the cameras, and call the bigwigs when their visitors arrived. Occasionally we'd do a walkthrough or some paperwork. It was a straightforward gig. And depending on the shift, it left you with a lot of downtime. Over my tenure, I made some friends, a few enemies, and generally got along with most people. It's surprisingly easy to investigate incidents when people actually like talking with you. One of the enemies I made was a supervisor. Let's call him Frank. Frank had clawed his way up from being a line worker. And he carried this massive ego, feeling that since he'd made his way from nothing, he was entitled to it. He was openly hostile to anyone he couldn't control. And I never gave him his due. You know the type. Now, Frank treated his line workers pretty poorly. And more than a few of them came to me to report his misconduct. One of our duties was to log any of these complaints as an incident report. We had to submit one copy to the factory administration, another to our own company, and then file the original. Frank had his own dedicated folder in our filing cabinet, thick with complaints. He did not like this. And he did not like me. Then, at the start of the pandemic, everything went sideways. We lost most of our staff in the booth and were down to just 3 guards trying to cover a 24/7 schedule. From March all the way to October. When I finally left, we were pulling grueling 12-hour shifts. My company struggled to find replacements. They hired 2 new guards during that time, but neither lasted more than 2 weeks. By October, I was completely burned out. Then, the last 2 guards I had quit. I didn't blame them one bit. I immediately put in my 2 weeks' notice and flat out refused to work more than 12 hours a day. My company scrambled. And they finally found my replacement, Jenna, who started on a Sunday at the beginning of my last week. I spent the entire day training her. But she never came back. On my last day, I found out why. She had claimed that I intimidated her and made her uncomfortable. She told my boss she didn't feel safe around me. I was absolutely livid. I have never mixed business and pleasure. I'm a big guy. I work out. But I have never, ever had those intentions at work. My personal motto has always been I don't shit where I eat. And it was a running joke at every job I've had. I was exhausted, burned out from months of non-stop work, and was looking forward to a visit from the amazing woman I am now dating. I had spent hours training Jenna, scheduling her for my entire last week so I could personally walk her through the mess she was inheriting. I'd even fought with the factory admin to keep that schedule locked in. The admin was already looking for a new security contractor. And other supervisors were trying to get access to our files, which held a ton of sensitive information that could help someone climb the ladder or eliminate competition. It was chaos. After 3 months without a single day off or a good night's sleep, my boss, who I had only ever spoken to over the phone, shows up in person to tell me this? I was almost terminated during my last week over a complete fabrication. If it wasn't for the work ethic my father instilled in me, I would have walked out right then and there. I finished my last day and walked away, fully intending to never think about that place again. But the story doesn't end there. After I left, a few friends from the factory kept me updated. Jenna apparently came back for one more day and then quit for good, citing the long hours and wanting to be with her kid. I was salty about her lie, but it wasn't my problem anymore. Until a few days ago. It turns out Frank had found out about Jenna's allegations and started spreading a rumor that I had been fired for sexual harassment. He wasn't just stopping there. He was telling people I was a serial harasser and had also been the reason a former female employee had quit. The truth about that other employee? She left because I got the site supervisor job over her. Mainly because I had seniority and she had a disciplinary record so dirty she'd narrowly avoided being fired multiple times. I didn't like this one bit. Especially because 2/3 of the incident reports I had filed on Frank were for sexual harassment. It was like that classic internet meme. The ultimate no you moment. As one commenter on my story later pointed out, it was the biggest reverse Uno in history. This is where Frank made his mistake. He didn't know that I don't like being messed with. This revealed Frank's greatest fatal flaw, his ego. He couldn't stand anyone he couldn't control. And in his mind, smearing my name was just another way to assert his dominance. Completely unaware that he was poking a bear that had been meticulously documenting his every move. Little personal history, back when I was a computer tech. A boss royally screwed me over. He gave me directives that violated company policy. And when it came to light, I was given an immediate final written warning because I had no proof he'd told me to do it. I shouldered all the blame. From that day forward, I have created what I call M.A.D. folders, mutually assured destruction folders, on anyone I felt might try to screw me over. Frank was one of those people. The originals are all kept in secure online storage. But Frank had pissed me off and was now threatening my future job prospects. Reputation is everything. So, I opened his folder. As security supervisor, I had full access to the camera system at the factory. And let me tell you, small-town factories are disgusting. People do things you wouldn't believe. A really popular activity was hooking up in the parking lot. Frank had built himself a little harem, giving better positions on the line to women who gave him some action. And I had pictures and video. I compiled a nice little folder with some choice clips and stills. Then, I sent them to his wife of about 20 years and his oldest daughter. He has 4 daughters. 2 in college and 2 close to graduating high school. I have no idea what the fallout was. But I sincerely doubt things are going well for him. But I wasn't satisfied. This whole mess started because Jenna used me as an excuse to run from a tough job. I told you. There are no saints in this story. During her single day of training, Jenna had asked me some strange policy questions and was curious about cell phones with good cameras. After a few careful questions from me, lo and behold, she revealed she had an OnlyFans. I warned her that this was a massive violation of our contract. Our company had clients in Vegas and parts of Europe where sex work is legal. And they had an ironclad policy against employees moonlighting in that industry to avoid any conflicts. They were incredibly strict about it. I could have had her terminated on the spot. Man or woman. It was not tolerated. Reflecting on this, and now filled with rage, I decided to track it down. And she was nice enough to have links to her premium Snapchat right on her public profile. I bundled all of this information and sent it to 3 groups: my previous employer, the IRS, and her ex-husband. She had been in a nasty, protracted custody battle with him. And we live in a fairly conservative state. Judges here do not look favorably on sex workers, often assuming the worst. I had just handed her ex-husband concrete evidence of her sex work and, quite possibly, tax fraud. If his lawyer can't get at least split custody with no child support now, then that's on him. Looking back, and as others have pointed out, her false claim was probably a preemptive strike. I had warned her that her side gig was a fireable offense, and she likely figured she'd discredit me first, just in case I decided to tell our employer on my way out. So that's my story. It's a harsh reminder that a lie can destroy a reputation. But sometimes, the truth, when it finally arrives, comes armed with a payload of irrefutable evidence. So, what do you think? Was the revenge justified? Or did it go too far? And what would you have done if your entire career and reputation were on the line?